We've talked about Emma Frost's sister, Adrienne Frost. Now it's time to talk about her brother, Christian Frost, who is a much better sibling to Emma than Adrienne. Emma doesn't murder this one. In fact, he's the only member of her family that she actually likes. Although he does murder another family member, which we'll get into. I'm working on a video talking about the 2003 Emma Frost series, but because of her siblings being so heavily featured in that comic, I thought I would give context as to who her siblings were. It's been a minute to get there. Life just keeps happening and other video ideas, but we're getting there. I promise, it's coming. Christian's character is something you kind of have to piece together. He's also retconned a lot. In fact, he's retconned into existence. His sister Emma's family roots would start to be explored in the 90s series Generation X, where both their sisters would appear, Cordelia and Adrienne. This comic would explain Emma's childhood of just being with two sisters. No mention or reference of a brother at all. Instead, his first appearance comes from New X-Men issue 139 from 2003. This is a cameo during a flashback to the Frost family and Emma's childhood. It establishes his existence as before he didn't. This is a very small appearance which is later retconned itself. This is the issue where Jean finds out about Emma and Scott, which leads into a mental psychic shuffle of Emma's past memories of her childhood. Here we see Jean see Emma's brothers playing piano, a part of the family only for it to be said that he went insane. Which is actually not correct, and also when we get more on Christian, this moment makes Jean look really bad for referring to him as going insane. I get why she's mad at Emma, but don't go to that level, Jean. You're gonna get cancelled. Christian would return in the 2003 Emma Frost comic, which takes place while Emma is a teenager and young adult, which makes a lot of his covers very uncomfortable. It's already a bit over the top on its own, but to know in the comic itself it's about a teen Emma makes it so much worse. They also have nothing to do with the plot. I know it's an adult Emma on the cover, but still, you didn't need to have these covers. Even if it was about an adult Emma, these covers alone are just very extra. Christian would play a decent role in the first arc, as being essentially the only loving member of the Frost family as Emma's big brother. The Frost family is a very wealthy family based on traditional values. He would help and support Emma during her rough times, but the two should have a very strong sibling bond. Emma's powers kicking in would end up having her discover that her brother was actually gay with a boyfriend. Christian would also be an example to his sister as someone that was willing to shout back at their father, Winston Frost, who is a corporate piece of shit and treats his children poorly, especially Christian since he's willing to push back. Christian would end up being outed by his other sister Adrienne, which would lead to his father using this to get back at his own son, since Christian wasn't only making moves against Winston but was encouraging his sister to do the same. They were tag teaming him and Winston didn't like it. One night when Emma was at Christian's in his boyfriend Dante's place, the wholesome moment would be interrupted by the police. Winston had framed Dante of drug abuse using his position of high society and get him deported, completely destroying Christian. This would lead to Christian attempting to take his own life, but Emma would luckily find him. This would lead to Christian becoming different, depressed and taking drugs from their other sister Cordelia. Cordelia? I don't know how to pronounce the other sister's name, that's why I try to avoid saying it. Emma was worried and gaslighted by their father into thinking that Winston actually regretted what he did and cared about his son's well-being. She would express her concerns and reveal her brother's drug addiction. Why would Emma trust him? She regrets it, and I feel like she shouldn't have trusted him. He's done nothing but proven that he's a horrible person. Winston, being a homophobic prick, would take this opportunity to send his son to a gay conversion facility that is under the impression of being a rehab. This would break the hearts of both Emma and Christian, as both would blame Emma for this. Which, I mean, it's only fair, she should have known better by now than to trust Winston. Her father literally had her put in a position to intentionally have her make out with her own teacher, and she still trusted her dad. Because yeah, clearly he's a great father, not at all pushing his teen daughter to do something with a grown man to create blackmail, which by the way he filmed, to create blackmail on his own daughter. Also, was this what Jean meant by he went insane? Because he was forced into a gay conversion group while on drugs? Jean Grey's getting cancelled. Again. Emma and Christian's sibling bond is one of the best parts of the comic, yet it led into one of the most tragic moments of the entire series. Christian was a good influence and Emma's really only good influence, but he wasn't a plank of wood. He felt like a real person, feeling well fleshed out. He was someone who was trying his best but could never escape his abuser, and eventually he just gave up. Christian would be gone for a decent amount of time until 2018, 15 years later, in an Iceman miniseries of all places. It would be revealed that Christian had been released from the conversion rehab as Winston wanted him to take over the family business, likely because Adrienne is dead, which they don't address, so I'm not entirely sure if Christian knows that Emma killed their other sister. Emma would go to their old mansion to find her dad, where she would insist to speak with her brother, only to be hit by some sort of mental blast energy, which Winston never had before. Which makes her think, aw shit, my dad is a mutant too. She would seek Iceman's help to go back, thinking that her brother was in danger, but when they show up, Christian is just alone, acting very odd towards Emma, like nothing was wrong despite everything. Just for Iceman to find Winston's body in one of the rooms, having been killed by his son after years of Winston abusing him. We learned that Winston we saw earlier was actually a mental construct created by Christian who is haunting him, revealing Christian is also a mutant. This is all tied to his abuse that he's gone through, killing his dad and then his dad being a manifestation of his own self-hate. Emma and Bobby would go into Christian's mind to help him guide through the maze of his trauma, where we see Emma prop her brother up and a genuinely heartwarming reunion between siblings. Christian, now an established mutant, would get to be in play for the Krakoa era, where he'd be a part of the now reformed Hellfire Club as the White Bishop. He would use his powers, unfortunately, very sparingly. Also, he would grow closer to Iceman during this time, eventually forming a somewhat romance that unfortunately also went nowhere. I say unfortunately because I think the idea is kind of interesting. His time here wasn't all that more than a support for his sister or his boyfriend, which I think is unfortunate, but its characterization overall I found to be pretty well defined as just being a genuinely nice person, even though he has a few screws loose, which I think it's understandable considering all that he's gone through, that he is a little off his rocker at points. Post-Krakoa era, he hasn't popped up, but I'm guessing he's around somewhere or else Emma would likely be very depressed. I think comparing Christian and Adrienne is very interesting in terms of character use. Adrienne as a character was designed to fit a villain role for two different arcs. You knew that she was eventually set up to be defeated or die, which she would be both. She had a clear endpoint already set up at the very start, or near start, when she was revealed to actually be a villain. Christian, however, seems to be set up more fit as an ongoing character and support, especially with the addition of his new power set. As before, he was more of a civilian support character. Now he can actually be a part of X-Men stories, as he has been. Between the two, while I think Adrienne might have been the more memorable Emma Frost sibling, Christian is certainly the one with the most potential, which I hope to see him eventually rise to. Christian appears more, but Adrienne does do more when she appears. Christian and Emma's sibling relationship is a very strong sibling bond and well fleshed out. However, if you want Christian to become a viable character in his own right, I think he needs to step away from Emma for a bit in a separate story, perhaps with Iceman again, or even a different character, or just on his own. His history around trauma and how his powers can manifest actual duplicates of his painful memories is something that is very interesting. However, it doesn't really come up all that often. If Emma and Christian combine their powers, could they manifest memories of other people they're not even connected to? I don't know, I'm just coming up with some ideas on the spot because I did like Christian as a character and I do want the character to come back. Also, this is the second time we've talked about a well-known female character's gay male telepathic reality warping mutant relative. Shout out to Wiccan. And that's it. Like always, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!